तो जो नेक्स्ट टॉपिक है 31st टॉपिक है विमेन एम्पावरमेंट एंड सोशल जस्टिस, पॉलिसी फॉर विमेन एम्पावरमेंट इन इंडिया, लॉज फॉर प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ विमेन, विमेन सिक्योरिटी एंड सेफ्टी इनिशिएटिव्स इन इंडिया। ठीक है, तो इसको हमने करंट से भी लिंक करना है, जो भी न्यूज़ आएंगी या कोई भी टॉपिक चल रहा होगा न्यूज़ में, मी टू मूवमेंट और ये सब चीज़ें, तो वी हैव टू लिंक इट, राइट। सो लेट्स जस्ट स्टार्ट विद द फंडामेंटल्स। हाउ कैन पॉलिसीज़ फॉर विमेन्स एम्पावरमेंट बी मोर इम्पैक्टफुल? ठीक है, इन ऑर्डर टू सक्सीड policies for women empowerment, women economic empowerment must be designed using a gender lens. ठीक है जी। In the year 1990, renowned economist Amartya Sen shared with the world an intriguing phenomena he had come to observe about the 100 odd million women who were simply missing. In an essay for the New York Times, he wrote, तो 100 odd million women के ऊपर जो missing थी उनके ऊपर इन्होंने लिखा था। The New York Times, he wrote, these numbers tell us quietly a terrible story of inadequacy and neglect leading to a excess mortality of women. ठीक है, research suggests that investing in women's economic empowerment has important linkages with gender equality. As a result, India has witnessed several schemes and progressive legislation both at the central and state levels that aim to empower women and increase their participation in the economy. However, despite the government's targeted efforts, India has had limited success. The Global Gender Gap Report 2020 has ranked India among 5 worst countries in economic participation and opportunity index. ठीक है जी, तो 2020 की जो ग्लोबल जेंडर गैप रिपोर्ट है उसने बहुत ज़्यादा लो रेट किया हुआ है इंडिया को, ठीक है, किस चीज़ में? इकोनॉमिक पार्टिसिपेशन एंड अपॉर्चुनिटी इंडेक्स में। Despite the priority accorded to skilling programs by the government, less than 2% of women received formal training in 2017-18. The COVID-19 pandemic has only heightened this gendered vulnerability. There are several reasons that can explain why WEE World Economic क्या है ये? There are several reasons that can explain why WEE policies in India, women empowerment ही होगा ये, in India may not have had the anticipated impact. However, in the absence of rigorous evolutions of government schemes and policies, evidence remains thin and fragmented. The approach we adapted, long-way gender analysis framework, which uses a progressive hierarchy to measure women empowerment. We supplemented this with policy lenses. Alignment of incentive of stakeholders and state capacity requires for implementation to understand each policy's likely effectiveness. Well-intentioned schemes with some unintended consequences. When it comes to policy, it is inevitable that some schemes, no matter how well-intentioned, can have an underwhelming impact and at times may even contribute to unforeseen adverse effects. Consider the case of 2017 Amendment to Maternity Benefits Act 1961. The amendments attempted to boost female workforce participation by increasing maternity leave for working women in the formal sector from 12 weeks to 26 weeks. A 2018 report, Team Lease Services, noted that though this amendment may have positive outcomes in the long term, in the short term it was likely to deter the hiring of women and could affect a net job loss of 11 to 18 lakh women in the first year. तो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है ये कि बेशक उसका जो लॉन्ग टर्म बेनिफिट था वो होना था हमें एज अ नेशन, लेकिन शॉर्ट टर्म लॉस क्या था कि बहुत से लोगों ने जो ना फीमेल्स को हायर करना बंद कर दिया। ठीक है, मतलब देयर आर लाइकली चांसेस दैट दे विल प्रेफर मेल्स ओवर फीमेल्स। ठीक है जी। मैनी कंट्रीज द डेवलप्ड वर्ल्ड रिलाई ऑन अ मिक्स ऑफ मैटरनिटी एंड पैटर्निटी लीव एंड सोशल सिक्योरिटी सपोर्ट टू alleviate this problem and to align incentives of the employers with the broader objective of supporting women in infant care. Unfortunately, this has not been done in the Indian context. Another example is Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana that aims to increase the uptake of clean fuel by subsidizing LPG. While the scheme consistently achieved its target in terms of LPG connections, a study by the Research Institute of Compassionate Economics found that it has not been as successful in its primary objective of displacing the use of firewood. Reasons for this range from the unaffordable cost of refills to a gendered bias due to which women are reluctant to spend on their own well-being. Reconsidering pricing and dispersal mechanisms in design of the scheme while also increasing distributor incentives to reach remote areas may have improved overall outcomes. The missing lens in policy design. Certain schemes such as Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, which aims to upskill young adults to make them job ready, have prominent gaps in their design. Owing to missing gendered perspective, the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, for instance, does not factor in the unique issues faced by women. An important reason why a skilling program often do not work for women is the lack of flexibility in schedule, lack of crèche facilities, concerns regarding safety, and inadequate support in terms of counseling and replacement. Stereotyping of skills offered to women results in further occupational segregation. Policies that allow for credit transfers and induct more female teachers, especially in courses traditionally considered unsuitable for women, can make a difference. A similar gender lens is also much needed in data collection, where the lack of disaggregated data on scheme implementation has made it harder to understand the impact of policies on women. For instance, in the case of gender neutral scheme like Ayushman Bharat, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, which was launched in 2018, gender disaggregated data was not available until 2020. Consequently, it was impossible to understand how effective the schemes was in providing affordable healthcare to women or in addressing women's specific medical conditions. What works for women economic empowerment? Several studies have noted that one of the more successful schemes targeting women empowerment is National Rural Livelihood Mission. This scheme has been instrumental in creating self-help groups and has helped empower women at grassroots, both socially and economically, through collective action, especially during crises such as the recent pandemic. By bringing women from poor families into SHG network, NRLM has empowered them with opportunities for employment or self-employment and access to finance. These community level institutions have also helped in creating sensitive support structures right up to the block level, with women members often assisting each other with issues such as domestic violence, financial savings, skilling, and participation in local governance. Through the experience of National Rural Livelihood Mission, it is evident that collective action schemes can play a vital role in women's empowerment, as numerous other interventions can also piggyback on SHGs. NRLM has been instrumental in creating SHGs and has helped empower women at grassroots. The Indian Stamp Act 1899 is another example that stands out. Under this act, many state governments have reduced stamp duty applicable on property held by women, thereby incentivizing the family to register property in the name of women. As a policy intervention, it is also relatively simpler to implement, which makes it work well for women empowerment. The way ahead. To make substantial strides in women's economic empowerment, it is clear that a gender lens need to be incorporated at every stage, from policy design to data collection for monitoring and evolution. A stronger focus on policies where stakeholders' incentives are aligned and those that impose lesser demands on state capacity while giving greater visibility to women in decision making and lead to better outcomes. Every policy that does not take into account these lenses is a lost opportunity to address the barriers that impact women's economic empowerment, a lost opportunity to stop women from going missing. ठीक है जी. तो बेटी पढ़ाओ स्कीम है, वन स्टॉप सेंटर स्कीम है, वुमेन हेल्पलाइन स्कीम है, उज्ज्वला, a comprehensive scheme for prevention of trafficking and rescue, rehabilitation, reintegration of victims of trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation. Working women hostels हैं. Ministry approves new projects under Ujjwala scheme and continues existing projects. Sudhar Grih, scheme for women in difficult circumstances. Nari Shakti Puruskar, awardees for Sri Shakti Puruskar 2014 and awardees of Nari Shakti Puruskar, awardees of Rajya Mahila Samman and Jila Mahila Samman, Mahila Police Volunteers, Mahila Shakti Kendras. Nearby, it is commonly understood that women empowerment is limited to giving women the freedom to vote, study, work, and become self-sufficient, while gender equality is often taken for considering women equal to men and providing them with the same rights as men. These two terms short, yet the need of our cover a wider and deeper set of challenges which women deal with on daily basis. This is not only affects women at an individual personal level but the entire world at all levels: social, psychological, economic, and many more. As per report by the World Economic Forum, the world economy loses 12 trillion every year due to gender inequality and violence that women face. तो ये फिगर हम मेंशन कर सकते हैं. This sadly isn't the case. Even though more women focused and friendly laws and cultural spaces are being constructed every day, the present world is far from being a women friendly space. In India itself, while the GDP rate was 6% in the last 2 decades, the participation of women in labor force reduced 23% in 2019 फ्रॉम 34 से 23% आ गई 2001 से लेकर 2019 तक, एज पर वर्ल्ड बैंक. ठीक है. विमेन एम्पावरमेंट, जेंडर इक्वालिटी एंड जेंडर इंजस्टिस आर मोर देन द नोन चैलेंजेस लाइक चाइल्ड मैरिज, डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस, रेप्स, डाउरी, etc. द करंट वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर ऑल्सो need to address pay gap, workplace violations, social and cultural injustice, legal rights to work and hold property. In past 50 years, 85 countries have not had a female head of state. तो पिछले 50 सालों में 85 कंट्रीज ऐसी हैं सर जिनके पास फीमेल हेड ऑफ स्टेट नहीं रहा. इन इंडिया women are paid as less as third of the pay received by men for the same or more work. More than 23 million girls drop out of school every year due to absence of toilets and lack of awareness about menstruation. Girls belonging to families of 20% receive an average of 9 years of education. In order to truly empower women, our country and the world needs to work harder in order to achieve the sustainable development goals of gender equality by 2030. Gender equality, gender justice, women empowerment, women safety, all of these begin at home and in community. Inculcating behavior change towards girls and women in their communities, sensitizing boys as they grow up toward girls, and promoting equality between a girl and boy child are start line of the journey to make the world a livable place for women. ठीक है. तो विमेन एम्पावरमेंट प्रोग्राम्स हैं, ईयर ऑफ कमेंसमेंट और ऑब्जेक्टिव्स हैं इनके. बेटी पढ़ाओ बेटी बचाओ, तो आई थिंक ये एलैबोरेट करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. वन स्टॉप सेंटर है, तो सेंट्रली स्पॉन्सर्ड स्कीम है. ठीक है जी. निर्भया फंड से फंड होना है इसने. टू प्रोवाइड सपोर्ट एंड असिस्टेंस टू वुमेन अफेक्टेड बाय वायलेंस एट पॉवर्टी, प्राइवेट पब्लिक प्लेस, रिस्पेक्टिव कास्ट, क्लास, रिलीजन, सेक्सुअल ओरिएंटेशन. ओहो, हमें शुरू करना पड़ेगा दोबारा से. जस्ट होल्ड ऑन. ठीक है जी. फिर कहाँ थे हम? हाँ, वन स्टॉप सेंटर. विमेन हेल्पलाइन स्कीम है. 24 आवर इमरजेंसी नॉन इमरजेंसी रिस्पॉन्सेज टू विमेन है. ठीक है. कम्युनिटी वर्क प्लेस में उज्ज्वला कम्प्रीहेंसिव स्कीम फॉर प्रिवेंशन ऑफ ट्रैफिकिंग एंड रेस्क्यू, रिहैबिलिटेशन, रीइंटीग्रेशन ऑफ विक्टिम्स ऑफ ट्रैफिकिंग एंड कमर्शियल सेक्सुअल एक्सप्लॉयटेशन. The scheme is being implemented mainly through NGOs to provide direct aid to benefit to the victims of trafficking. Working women hostels हैं to promote availability, safe, convenient, located accommodation, day care facility for their children wherever possible in urban, semi-urban, even rural areas. Rajiv Gandhi National Crèche Scheme for children of working mothers to provide day care facility for children 6 months से 6 साल के बच्चों के लिए, to improve nutrition and health status of children, to promote physical, cognitive, social and emotional development of children, educate, empower parents, caregivers for better care. Swadhar scheme, a scheme for women in difficult circumstances for providing holistic integrated services to women in difficult circumstances and without any family, social and economic support, such as destitute women deserted by their family in religious place like Vrindavan and Kashi, women prisoners released from jails, women survivors of natural disasters who have been rendered homeless, trafficked women, girls rescued run away from brothels, women victims of terrorist violence without any means of survival, support to training and employment program for women. The ministry has been administering STEP scheme since 1986-87 as a central sector scheme. It was revised in December 2014. Nari Shakti Puruskar to recognize women who have exceeded expectations, to challenge the status quo and make a lasting contribution to women's empowerment. Women Empowerment and Livelihood Program in Mid-Gangetic Plains Priyadarshini. It focuses on women empowerment and livelihood Mid-Gangetic Plains. Mahilai Heart. It will help women to make financial and economic choices which will enable them to be part of Make in India and Stand Up in India initiative. Rashtriya Mahila Kosh is also known as National Credit Fund for Women. Central Social Welfare Board to promote social welfare activities implementing welfare programs for women. Women safety initiatives. Ministry of Women and Child Development has launched 3 important initiatives on women's safety. The Ministry of Women and Child Development has conceptualized these initiatives to promote the safety of women in their living spaces, working spaces, and public spaces. Panic button. The Ministry of Telecom mandated a physical panic button on all mobile phones in the country 2015. It was noted that such a panic button must be backed by emergency response mechanism through the local police when the panic button message would alert the specified family members of women in distress situation. Now a dedicated emergency response center has been established through which the entire system will be operated. SCIM portal under Safe City project and online Safe City implementation monitoring portal has been developed by Ministry of Home Affairs. The government has identified 8 cities for implementation of Safe City project. The project include creation on ground assets and resources and mindset safety of women. The Indian judiciary has created safety laws for women that have been effective for many years now. These include Child Marriage Restraint Act 1929, Special Marriage Act 1954, Hindu Marriage Act 1955, Hindu Widows Remarriage Act 1856, Indian Penal Code 1860, Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, Maternity Benefit Act 1861, Foreign Marriage Act, Indian Divorce Act, Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971, Children Christian Marriage Act, Code of Criminal Procedure, Equal Remuneration Act 1976, Married Women's Property Act, Death and Marriages Registration Act, Indecent Representation of Women, Muslim Women, Commission of Sati Act 1987, National Commission for Women Act 1990, Prohibition of Sex Selection Act 1994, Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, Prevention of Children from Sexual Offences Act, and Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act 2013, among several others. Criminal Law Act 2013 was enacted for effective legal deterrence against sexual offences. Further, the Criminal Law Act 2018 was enacted to prescribe even more stringent penal provisions, including death penalty for rape of a girl below age of 12 years. The Act also inter alia mandates completion of investigation and trial within 2 months each. The government has also taken a number of initiatives for safety of women and girls which are given below. The government has set up Nirbhaya Fund for projects for safety and security of women, for which Ministry of Women and Child Development is the nodal authority for appraising, recommending proposal schemes to be funded under Nirbhaya Fund. In order to facilitate state UTs, Ministry of Home Affairs has launched an online analytic tool for police on 19th February 2019 called Investigation Traffic Tracking System for Sexual Offences to monitor and track time-bound investigation in sexual assault cases in accordance with criminal law. Ministry of Home Affairs has launched the National Database on Sexual Offenders 2017-2018. NDSO has data of over 5 lakh sexual offenders. Emergency Response Support System, which provides a single emergency number 112 based computer aided dispatch of field resources to location of distress, has been operationalized in 20 states. MHA has launched a cyber crime portal on 20 September 2018 for citizens to report obscene content. Further, cyber crime forensic labs have been set up in several states and training of over 33664 personnel. Using technology to aid smart policing and safety management. Safe city projects have been sanctioned in phase 1 in 8 cities. In order to improve investigation, MHA has taken steps to strengthen DNA analysis using central and state forensic laboratories. This includes setting up of a state-of-art DNA analysis unit in Central Forensic Science Laboratory, Chandigarh. MHA has also sanctioned setting up of upgrading DNA analysis units in state forensic science laboratories in 13 states in order to coordinate various initiatives for women's safety. MHA has set up Women's Safety Division. Ministry of Women and Child Development has also introduced a scheme of one-stop centers to provide integrated support and assistance to women affected by violence, and a scheme for universalization of women helpline to provide 24-hour emergency non-emergency response to women affected by violence. Mahila police volunteers in states UTs who will act as link between police and community and facilitate women in distress. MHA has issued advisories to all state governments UTs advising them to ensure through investigation conducting of medical examination of rape victims without delay and for increasing gender sensitivity in police. These advisories are available at गवर्नमेंट वेबसाइट. तो इसके बाद हम शुरू करेंगे चाइल्ड राइट्स एंड राइट टू एजुकेशन.